All right, so welcome to Algebra 2. Today is April 30th. As always, the part about this slide is to make sure you have a paper and pencil ready for notes so you guys can take notes. If possible, find some quiet space. And I know, again, that's so hard. Like even outside, I keep hearing noise. Big trucks keep passing by and things happen, so it's very hard. But the main part is just try to have a pencil and paper for notes so you guys can do your assignments. And then that way, next year, if you guys have notes, you can always use these. And then as far as office hours go, Wednesdays, Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. All right, so our stress check, make sure you type in the box, how are you feeling today between a 0 and a 10? Let me go ahead and also type in for me.
Ms. V.
Yes. All right, so thank you if you did your stress check. I see that we are at an interesting range. We have a 1, a 2, and a 3. All right, our objectives for today. So we're going to review finding the missing side of a right triangle, which is what we've been working on, right? Like remember the kite example and how we were trying to find how high the kite was above the ground? I agree. I want my sleep too. And then as far as our new lesson for today, you're going to how to find a missing angle, missing angles using trigonometric functions. Okay, so those are our objectives for today. So let's look at question number 1, and this is a good example. Hold on, all right, so question number 1, if we're given h of x, which is equal to 5x minus 1, find x if h of x is equal to 9. So this one, I feel like when we covered it, you guys were doing well, but lately I think there's been some confusion and you guys might just need some reminders. So that's why I chose to review this question. Remember that when you have h of x, right, or whatever value, whatever variable they use, x minus 1, all you're doing is this is going to be your x, your h of x, okay? So this is going to be 9. So we're going to take h of 9 is equal to, and now anytime you have an x, you're going to plug in 9, like that. So your answer will end up being 5 times 9 is 45 minus 1. This is what you should be typing into your answer, your short answer on Schoology. You can either type in this.
So you want each step, right?
I don't know if there's enough space for that. As long as you can get me for the school, for just Schoology, if you can put in all the steps so I can see your thinking, that would be perfect. That's like the ideal. But if it doesn't let you fill it in, because I can't remember if I put it as a short answer, if it doesn't let you put in all the steps, then as long as you put that last step, or if it doesn't let you even do that, as long as you put 44, that's fine. I rather always when I see, though, I usually make sure that there's enough space so that you can answer the full thing. I'm breaking up a bit. Okay. Can you let me know if it continues happening and I'll have to switch over to my all right, so for question number 2, so it says find the measure of the missing side. So this is where we're gonna do, we're gonna use SOHCAHTOA. And right away, remember the first thing I like to do is I like to label my slides. I can hear some feedback, so let me go ahead and mute you guys for now. All right, so what I like to do right away is I like to label my triangles so I know that the side that is opposite of my right angle is hypotenuse. The one that's opposite of my focus angle is my opposite. And then the one that's left is my adjacent. So remember that I check to see what information are they giving me, but we're not focusing on these, on sine, cosine. We're looking at the other letters. So they give me opposite. Notice they say that's x. And they give me hypotenuse. So I look at opposite. Yes, they give that to me. There's another opposite here. Do they give me hypotenuse? Yep, they say that that's 5. What they don't give me is anything for adjacent. Okay. They don't give me any whatsoever for adjacent. So I'm gonna cross that one out. Okay. Meaning what I can use is I'm gonna be able to use sine. And really good, I saw in the chat box that even before I got to that point, that was answered, really good. So what I'm gonna do is sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, right? So we're gonna find the sine of 38 degrees. What's my opposite? My opposite is x. What's my hypotenuse? My hypotenuse is 5. And remember, our point here is to find x by itself. But this is where I take my calculator. And in this case, it's the calculator on your phone. As a reminder, you put it to the side, right? You're going to plug in 8. You click on sine.
0.615.
Good. 0.615, really good. And then everything else stays like that. Remember, we try to get x by itself, so we multiply each side by 5. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, which is why you do it to both sides. And that should give you, if you get the answer, go ahead and let me know. Okay, I have an answer, so I'm gonna go ahead and write it. You guys can let me know if you got something different. I got 3.075. Now the thing is with this one, look at the answers and notice that none of them are that exactly. So this is where you're gonna use a skill that hopefully you've had some practice with, which is rounding. And we look at the number, they want us to look at the 10th at this place. 7 tells me what to do. So the 7, because it's on, whenever it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it tells that number to go.
So wouldn't it be the 0 turn to 1?
Yep, exactly. Oops. It would become 3.1 if we round. So out of these answers that listed on there, so that's how we solve that question, okay? All right, so now let's look at our problem for today. And I know we've taken a lot of time on, well, we kind of started a bit late. But when looking at our problem,
Let me do it now.
What was that? This is a word problem. So today's word problem is a person standing. So remember, what we're doing with the word problem is we do the word problem at the beginning, and hopefully the lesson helps us solve it. So by the end, we know how to solve this question. Sometimes I'm gonna take a full week to teach it. It just depends. But the word a person standing on level ground is hold on a second. Let me go ahead and. So I wasn't sure. Okay. So a person standing on level ground is 2,000 feet away from a 420 foot tall building. So if you look at this diagram, notice that if a person were standing, there we go. If a person was standing here, they would be 2,000 feet away from the foot of the building, and the building is 420 feet tall. So they want you to, the nearest degree, find what is the value of x. So they want us to find what is this angle, okay? Right, so far what we've been focusing on is the missing side. So we figured out maybe how tall the building is or how far away the person is from the building. But we haven't been able to find out yet how, like what the angle is, right? So that's what we're gonna work on today, and it's probably gonna go into our next session. So let's quickly do a review of finding sine of 43 degrees. So again, this is something that you can go ahead and do in your calculator. You're trying to find the value of sine of 43 degrees to the nearest 1,000. Should be to the nearest 1,000, not to the nearest 1,000. But go ahead and plug that into your calculators. And what does it give you? Type it into the chat box, please. I'm going to go ahead and do it as well. And I noticed something that on this portion, it says 43 degrees. This one says 42. Let's make it 43. That was a mistake. Okay, so I got an answer. It's not supposed to go ahead like that. Good. That is exactly what I got. You plug that in and you should get and then there's actually a 9 after it. If you were to round it, let's say to the 10th place, remember this would go up, so it would be 0.7, just depends on where you're rounding to. So we're gonna go ahead and find the missing side, round to the nearest 10th. We're just reviewing again how to find the missing side using trigonometry. So for this, we're gonna do SOHCAHTOA. I'm gonna help you label the triangles, but then I want you to tell me, are we gonna use sine, cosine, or tangent? And then, yes, Harmony, I see your chat. So I know that that's the opposite of the right angle. Oops, I meant to point to this one. That's my hypotenuse. The opposite of my focus angle is that, and the one left is adjacent. So I want you guys to tell me which one am I using, sine, cosine, or tangent? All right, so based on this, were we given opposite? Yep. Were we given adjacent? No, we have nothing for adjacent, okay? And then were we given a hypotenuse? Yes, we were. Okay. So does that leave your answer, is your answer still the same or does your answer change?
Change.
It changed? It changed to what?
It changed to sin.
Okay, it's a sine, right?
To sin.
Okay, so instead we're gonna, okay, so we have sine of, and then, so this one is interesting because just as a heads up, so this is actually supposed to be sine, like that, but for short, they write it as sin. So it looks like it's sin and it's pronounced sine. So we would do sine of, what's our angle? Our angle is 63 degrees. We use our opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite is x. Our hypotenuse is 18. How do we get x by itself? We multiply each side by 18. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Now, I went ahead, before even solving this, I did that. So just make sure that you do plug that in. And then we can do 18.
So we put sine 63 on the calculator, right?
Mm-hmm. And then you multiply that.
So I got 0.89 would 0.
Good. Okay, so we do that. And now go ahead and multiply that by 18.
I got 16.03.
Good. I got the same exact thing. So good. So we know that if this were, let's say, a building, right? Going back to an example of a building, we would know that the building, let's say if it's in feet, although that wouldn't make sense. It would have to be way bigger than that. But we would know it would be 16. Oh wait, actually wouldn't, no. It wouldn't have to be bigger than that if it's like a house. But okay, so 16 feet. So X represents this missing side of the triangle. Okay. All right, I don't know, let's see what time, we only have 4 minutes, so we will not be getting to inverse trig ratios. Instead, that's something that we will cover next time. So we'll be able to solve our problem during our next session. Oh yeah, this was a, all right, so instead go ahead in the chat box, you can say it out loud, guess the meaning. Remember, I'm keeping track of points.